account as you do your work going forward. The Africa Strategy is a document that was unveiled in June of 2014 in Addis Ababa. Since the unveiling of the Africa Strategy, nothing tangible has really happened. And this is because we're waiting for a much bigger document within which the strategy was compiled to take momentum. And that is post-2015 agenda. Now, what the Africa Strategy is trying to do is to try and develop a vehicle for the Global Compact to engage with private business across the African continent. It is to make African businesses agents of our change, rather than relying on non-African businesses to be agents of our change. It is to put Africans in the driving seat of the 2015 agenda. And lastly, putting sustainability at the center of Africa's development. Now, these are very important objectives we've set the continent up for. And if we're not ready to deliver on these objectives, the likelihood is that the post-2015 agenda is not going to work for the continent. And there's a context to this whole discussion, Madam Chair. And the context is in 4 parts. Firstly is that the African growth and development that we hear people talking about seems to be originated and benefiting mainly non-regionals. And the people on the continent are playing second fiddle. And that will have to change. Secondly, we seem to feel that as the development is taking place, the underlying and very important principles of ESG and the UNGC 10 principles are actually taking second fiddle as we try to develop the African economy. And that cannot be sustainable. And that cannot work for the long-term benefit of the continental economy. The post-2015 agenda is premised on developing Africa. At the heart of this agenda is Africa. But we cannot have the rest of the world thinking about Africa and we on the continent are not thinking about our continent. That would mean that we are not taking ownership for what we're supposed to be doing. And there's a lot of other challenges that come along with putting Africa at the focus of the post-2015 agenda. Some of these relate to the MDGs, which you all know. When we report in June of this year, clearly we're going to report that we haven't met the MDGs. 15 years from today, we cannot report the same. We need to make sure that when we get to the next reporting point on the next strategic development goals, we can proudly stand up as a continent and say we've been able to do our work and we've been able to deliver against the SDGs. Part of this is not about sitting around tables as we are today. We hope that beyond today, we're going to roll up our sleeves because there's a lot of work that needs to be done to get Africa to the level of development as the rest of the world is enjoying. What it means is that we need to put at the heart of the implementing of the Africa Strategy both economic and social infrastructure. This is investing in roads, in hospitals, in education, and other related infrastructure. And the next steps that we need to think about going forward as African businesses are, it is not the responsibility of your neighbor. It is your responsibility to take the next step. and that means all hands on deck. African businesses should take the lead. Don't wait for your partners from other parts of the world to come and take the lead for you. African businesses should be prepared to fund this initiative. Because if we don't fund it ourselves, the likelihood is that the funding that is going to come our way is going to be constrained, and it's going to come with terms which may not be palatable to us. We need to develop an African development team for the post-2015 agenda, which should come from amongst us. It cannot come from the UN. It cannot come from New York. We need to sensitize our governments and regional bodies, such as the African Development Bank, of the importance of their role to making sure that they put in place the right investment environments for all this to happen. We need to increase collaboration amongst local networks across the continent. And we need to make sure that the SDGs are realized. Thank you very much.
Thank you, yes. I'll turn over the floor to Pierre.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon. I am from Senegal, and I have 3 passions in life, at least 3 passions that I can discuss publicly. One is human rights. The second one is Africa. And the third one is football. So I hope we will end this session in time, because at 3 o'clock, Senegal is playing against Ghana. I'm a founding member of the Global Compact in 2000 with Kofi Annan. At that time, I was the head of Amnesty International in London. Global Compact is a covenant for human rights. In the context of post-1989, the end of the Cold War, a new world emerged, which was shaped by the triumph of unfettered capitalism, socialism having been defeated, the labor movement having been tamed. Capitalism had free hands to roam throughout the world. The second feature of the post-Cold War era was the growth in the number of conflicts, armed conflicts around the world, starting with the former Yugoslavia, Rwanda, Burundi, Liberia, Sierra Leone, etc., etc. The response of the international community to those 2 major developments was to ensure that while these were taking place, because they could not prevent it, it's very difficult to prevent a conflict, was to seek ways to ensure continued protection of human rights. And that led to the development of 2 covenants. The first one is the Global Compact, responsibility while doing business. The second one is humanitarian intervention and responsibility to protect, or responsibility while protecting. On the first one, corporate social responsibility, or its embodiment in the Global Compact at the international level, is responding to the question, what is the responsibility of the CEO or of the corporation in the protection and promotion of human rights? Whether it is the human rights of workers,